It's my privilege to welcome to the airwaves this morning my good friend Dan Flynn from the Australian Christian Lobby in beautiful Canberra today. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing so well, Matt. Thank you for your call, and lovely to be here with your listeners.
It's always good to catch up with you, mates, and there's been a lot of talk about football going on, and of course the big grand final on the weekend. But the other big story that we've been looking at with the ACL is the Hawthorn football story about the problem of coercion. That's been a massive news story, hasn't it?
Well, it absolutely has. Here's the thing with that, Matt. I mean, obviously it's spoiled the run into the grand final. Everything's polished and beautiful, but stories emerge, and if they're true, it shows incredible underbelly of the football culture that and the concern really for ACL is a couple of fronts, that you have Indigenous players being their families being separated, allegations that their babies are threatened to be aborted, told that they shouldn't have these babies, they'll distract from their career. And it's interesting, we're hearing this in the Victorian AFL context. These allegations are yet to be proven, but we've seen similar stories coming from the NRL where, we've had one young woman saying that, she had no option rather than get rid of her baby. The pressure from the football player who was the father of the baby was relentless. And a lot of this narrative that, look, this baby will ruin your career. So this type of coercion coming from, the top levels of clubs, if true, is extremely concerning. And, football's great, but it is entertainment for the masses, Matt. And if it is true, these allegations are true, it's somewhat of a murderous cult, and this is very concerning.
Well, it is heartbreaking, and I've interviewed a number of Christian footballers and football chaplains over the years, and they have been saying that it is quite shocking, from a Christian worldview to see what goes on behind the scenes in football clubs, and some of it gets into the media, but a lot of it doesn't. This is really heartbreaking. When you look at abortion in Australia, there's around about 240 abortions per day. And yes, it does raise the question, how many of those abortions are the result of coercion, pressure from partners, family, workplaces, other social factors, It's a big discussion that we need to have, isn't it?
Oh, it absolutely is, Matt. And it's, effectively you've got, I suppose the father's employer effectively, saying, get rid of this baby, it's going to affect you in the workplace. So, yeah, coercion's huge. And we know, Matt, that, when women hear that their pregnancy is supported, that the baby will be supported, that changes everything. And men have a big role to play here. Men who are the fathers, men who are in positions of power, particularly in football and rugby clubs, have a lot to learn. So I'm, looking forward to this inquiry, getting to the truth of some of these issues. Obviously, there's a presumption of innocence in relation to these coaches, but we've got to find out the truth. It's very, very important.
Certainly one to watch, and appreciate the ACL speaking up on that topic, speaking up for the unborn, speaking up for those who can't speak. It's a powerful thing you guys do. Now, another...
Matt, just before we leave the abortion front, we've got, this is a Victorian story, the March for the Babies in Victoria is coming up October 8th.
Yes.
Something I've been involved with for over a decade. It's back on now. It was adjourned for a couple of years because of COVID. Victoria has incredibly liberal abortion laws allowing abortion up to birth. So, people turned out in great droves for the grand final. They always turn out in great droves for the March for the Babies in Victoria, along Collins Street and Burke Street. So, that's going to be a great event.
Okay, so if people want to join in, it's at the Treasury Gardens at 1 p.m. For the March for the Babies on Saturday, October 8th. And you walk into Parliament House, and it's a family-friendly event, so people can join in. It's so important that Christians vote with their feet on these on these topics. That we get out there and we rally. It's important, isn't it, that we show the world what we stand up for.
Thanks for the plug, Matt. You're absolutely right.
I've been involved in the March for Life in Brisbane a number of times, and there's something special about it, and you see all these people holding up banners of beautiful little babies, and it's just such an important thing. So March for Babies this Saturday, October 8th, and I'm sure there'll be a good turnout there. I remember seeing, I think it was Bernie Finn. He's often at that one in Victoria, isn't he?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And we do say to people, hey, if you're involved in one piece of political activism for the year, get the family, put them in the car, get the child in the pram, and go to this one, because these numbers speak to the politicians and to the media who are always there.
Absolutely. And just on another note, there's a new pro-life movie being released. I just got a press release about it last week. It's out in cinemas soon. I'm pretty sure the name is Life Mark, from the guys that made, Courageous and War Room, the Sherwood Pictures guys.
Yes, certainly.
Very good pro-life movie coming out. So, head along to the movies and see that one when it comes out as well. So, very good. All right, mate, now let's turn our attention to WA. There's a threat to Christian schools in WA. What's the latest there?
Well, we talked so much about the religious discrimination bill last year, in the previous term of government, and, the desire, the plan, Matt, that don't protect Christian schools. Now, that legislation was never passed. But what we are seeing here in WA, we had a discussion, I know there was a discussion last week about Queensland. So the states are trying to tighten the screws on Christian schools through changes to the Anti-Discrimination Act. And right now what we're seeing in WA is a proposed amendment to the Anti-Discrimination Act to remove the right of Christian schools to exclusively hire Christian teachers. And, basically, unless you're the principal or the chaplain, that an LGBT person, rainbow hair, they won't be able to be knocked back for a job teaching maths at a Christian school. And I just, aware this morning earlier that Northern Territory has a proposed bill along similar lines, that you won't be able to refuse to hire them on the basis of their LGBT status, and you won't be able to, discipline or dismiss them because of their LGBT status. So this threat in WA, in Northern Territory, in Queensland, to Christian schooling is such an existential threat. We're not talking here, I know we hear about the gardener and all of that, but the reality is that we are talking about everybody except the principal and the chaplain. Will be, and you could have an LGBT person who's the year level coordinator in your Christian school, for which you're paying fees to have a Christian education delivered to your children. So, we have crews on the ground. In fact, Matt, today we have Christopher Bro here in Darwin, and he's meeting with members of Parliament this week to talk about the Northern Territory version of this. And also collaborating with the Catholic Bishop on this. So we do have people on the ground in WA, Peter Abetz, Christopher Bro here in Northern Territory today, in the corridors of power on this issue to try and protect Christian schools from this sort of state and territory type attack.
Well, and it's so true. The Christian schools need Christian staff in order to fulfil their ethos. I mean, that's what defines a Christian school. So, I mean, it's such an important thing that we speak up on this. We know that there's an online petition on the ACL website. We're urging people to sign it and defend Christian schools in WA. Also in Queensland, there's a writing campaign on the website to help you defend Christian schools that are under threat in Queensland. I've seen that doing the rounds in my circles as well. Once again, all the links are at the website acl.org.au if you'd like to make your voice heard on that topic. Now, there's another way that listeners can help children with gender dysphoria that you guys have been discussing. What's the latest on that topic? Well,
we've obviously heard about this, the Tavistock clinic being closed in England because they had a philosophy of, look, if a child comes in, they're gender confused, great. They're going to have a pathway. We'll give them the chemicals or drugs will do whatever's necessary to help these children transition. Now, that was closed down in London because there were concerns. The Royal Melbourne Children's Hospital, or the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, rather, has the same protocol as Tavistock. That's not closed down. And remarkably, and I know your listeners would be concerned about this, the ABC has not run one story on the Tavistock closure. And when they were asked about this, they said, it's because it's an overseas issue. We're more concerned about Australia. Well, that's not true. When the Queen died, plenty of coverage. They are concerned about overseas issues, but they don't want any narrative that would be against the approach of transitioning gender-confused children. So we have a petition that is it's online. It's part of the Australian Parliament House petitions. It's been prepared by Wendy Francis, and we do encourage people to go to our website to sign it, and that goes directly to members of Parliament. It will be tabled in the Parliament, so that's a very significant one. And we do encourage people to basically help these children who are being, steered down a path that's causing great heartbreak in a lot of families.
Yeah, well, it certainly is a big topic. Good to see the ACL speaking up on that topic. And just on that too, Dan, we need to hear good testimonies about topics like this. And, I heard of a church recently where there was a guy that was gender confused for a number of years, and the church, loved him and cared for him, even though he would turn up, in different clothing at different times. And I just heard recently that this guy got baptised, and he's back to his original state and loving it, happy, confident, free. And, we need to hear stories like that, don't we?
Oh, we absolutely do. We absolutely do. And, this is becoming more and more common in churches, including the church that I attended in Melbourne. We had such a person, and they were on a journey of faith, and it was great to see. What we have seen, Matt, recently are parents who are very devastated by the treatment that their children have had.
Yeah.
And some parents who are quite motivated to speak out on this. We're seeing a fair bit of that at the moment.
Wow. Well, once again, acl.org.au, if people want to look at the petition there on that, it can be signed to help protect our children. Mate, the other big news with you guys is the Truth of It Live have been happening around Australia. These events are massive. Tell us all about it.
Matt, this was in Sydney on Saturday night. It was a sellout at the Darling Harbour Theatre, and it was just an impressive night. There were 2,400 people in attendance. We heard an excellent message from Martin Isles, a great presentation by John Steinoff and the Human Rights Law Alliance, showcasing the plight of many of their clients. It was an epic event, and just such a sense of Christian unity, and right across the denominations, Matt. And when people are in the trenches on these sort of battles, the denominations don't matter much. Every denomination has its distinctives, but when people are really in the battle on these issues and they unite at something like the Truth of It Live, they are all on the one page, keen to be activated to help on the pro-life issues and on the gender issues, and I suppose given some courage to stand up, whether it's at work and having to attend and make it, wear a purple day, all of that type of thing. People get some courage to be able to say, hey, you know what, that may not be for me, and I can declare my faith boldly and expect to be respected in this workplace. So, yeah, a great night of courage. These are continuing next month, October, late October, in Canberra, and you'll find that on our website. There's 1,000 seats in the Great Hall of Parliament House. 847 of them are sold, so about 150 seats left. And so we do encourage people to register for the Canberra event. The Melbourne event, 11 November, there's 1,700 seats sold already. So, it's a great tour and just a great sense of unity and empowerment for people, particularly experienced in Sydney last Saturday night.
And if people missed it, it is available. It was live streamed and it's available on YouTube or Facebook People can search up the Australian Christian Lobby and search it up on their social media as well. Always a pleasure to catch up with you, Dan, and our thoughts, we just love what you guys do with the Australian Christian Lobby. Our prayers are with you, and keep fighting the good fight, my brother. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Matt. God bless. Appreciate it.